The mega pizzaplex had been closed for the past month for an incredible expansion to its entertainment offerings. An area located in a newly renovated and cleaned out basement of the building. The cleanup included removal of debris from a fire that had broken out there a few months ago, and the removal of any electronic garbage, including the charred remains of a bunny animatronic that, according to the removal team, did not share any resemblance with the still missing Glamrock Bonnie animatronic. Thankfully, Project Gator had been successful at replacing Bonnie. The old basement had been refurbished for a very special attraction, considered an expansion to Monty Golf. It was simply named Gator Swamp. It was a large indoor water park located entirely inside the Pizzaplex's vast underground network. Using natural rock formations and very expensive decorations to create a cozy bayou-esque area for children and grown-ups alike to take a dive and enjoy the fresh, cool water. At center stage for Gator Swamp were two animatronics, Monty and the recently reintroduced Mr. Hippo. While the construction and AI programming for Hippo was still underway, Monty, on the other hand, had to be completely modified to fit this new environment. This mostly included an entirely new shell for the animatronic. You are tasked with attaching the new shell and teaching the machine how to swim. While engineer and swim instructor of all things were not part of your job description, it included a nice bonus for you. So, might as well go through it. Monty was inside the protective dome of parts and services together with you. He had insisted on staying online so he could see the parts as they were attached.
These parts feel weird,
he complained, as you carefully shoved his new arm onto his endoskeleton. You were sweating and exhausted. The new parts were made out of a lighter material, but were more difficult to put on due to them having less seams. In fact, his arm and leg shells had no seams at all. Monty carefully looked at how you handled his modifications.
What's all this rubber for?
He barked. The animatronic really didn't like the idea of getting modified almost right after he had been shattered and repaired. He felt as if he spent more time in parts and services than he did on stage, performing, or playing golf with the little guys. You sighed as you looked at the gator. The rubber is there to fully cover your endoskeleton so no water gets in. You rolled your eyes. I already explained that.
I'm running low on power. My memory isn't that good,
he growled. Yeah, sure. Whatever. That bonus better be big.
So what happens after the surgery, Doc?
You snorted at his joke. After this we go for a swim to test your swimming capabilities. If you sink, we will give you floaties and a swimming ring, and...
You will give me what?
You smirked. Floaties. You know, little rubber things you wrap around your arms. Then a swimming ring.
I'm not going to run around with stupid floaties!
Your eyes narrowed. Then you better swim, mister. He hissed but didn't comment further. Finally, it was time to work on his head plates. You ready for this?
Rock and roll!
You activated the machinery of the protective dome, which immediately began to carefully dismantle his faceplates, eyes, and other smaller bits. His naked endoskeleton face looked at you.
How's it look, Doc? As bad as it feels?
You grinned and leaned over his head. No, this is much worse. His inner mechanisms clicked and shifted, clearly offended by what you just said. What?
It's not funny, Night Guard.
You shrugged. Still better than Chica's puns. The animatronic barked something unintelligible, but it was clear to you that your answer amused him. Then you went behind him. This is going to suck ass, you sighed.
What? I can't see,
complained the robot. Don't worry, we will insert your newly water-resistant eyes in a minute, but first, out of the box you took the remodeled animatronic skull. It was covered in rubber and filled with wires. Over the next 30 minutes, you painfully slowly installed the new skull over his animatronic head, while he complained about this being stupid. It was a tedious task, and you cut yourself multiple times on the wires, and one time bumped your head against one of his plastic teeth, giving you a headache. But once everything was finally in place and the facial plates were reattached, you felt strangely proud of your work. Lastly, you inserted his new waterproof eyes, allowing the gator to see. So, how do your new eyes work? Does everything look okay?
Everything has this gray tint to it now, like I'm wearing my sunglasses. Wait, my sunglasses! Will I be able to see with them?
Maybe? The gator whimpered, which sounded strangely cute. Come on, you said, trying to cheer him up, as you took one of his hands in yours. Let's get you out of here first, so you can see for yourself. He sighed, but got up from the operation table regardless. Walk around a bit. We need to see if you're able to adjust your balance without some reprogramming. On wobbly legs, the gator began to move around parts and surfaces.
It's weird.
You shrugged. That was understandable. You'd feel weird too, if you had just gotten skinned alive, only to then have a similar skin be sewn over like a too-tight sock. Trust me, when you enter the water, it'll be much weirder. He scoffed.
I'll get used to this, just you wait.
You sighed, mostly because the end of your shift was approaching and you really didn't want this to take all night. Let's go for a dip then.
Wait. You're going to join me? And how am I even supposed to swim? What do you mean, join me?
Taking a step back, you blushed. Why? Why is this a big deal? You crossed your arms and looked away, actually having looked forward to being the first person to take a swim in the new attraction. You left parts and services with the gator behind you. Thankfully, the animatronics were waiting with bated breaths for the reveal of the new and improved Monty. As the others surrounded him, admiring his new shell, you just shook your head. He looked almost exactly like he did before, just his seams were covered in protective rubber now, to protect his delicate machinery below. Whatever, you thought. Somewhat excited, you made your way into the basement, quickly entering the changing area. Knowing this would happen today, you brought your favorite one-piece swimsuit. However, it had been a while since you last swam. Blushing, you looked at yourself in the mirror. You certainly gained a pound or two since free daily pizza was on the menu. The swimsuit was incredibly tight, squeezing your flesh in just the right places. You felt like a little sausage. The suit was at least one size too small. Well, the pool would be empty, so don't need to feel slutty, right? With a shy smile, you walked out of the changing rooms into the shower area. The rule was simple. Wash yourself before entering the pool to keep the water as clean as possible. You squeaked as ice-cold water hit your soft, fragile skin. Right, the heating unit for the showers wasn't connected yet. After a while, however, your body got used to it. Once you were thoroughly cleaned, you stepped into the pool area. Gator Swamp was beautifully decorated. Actually, you hadn't seen the installation with all its ambient lighting and filled pool yet. It was around the size of Roxy Raceway, with a high ceiling. Lights on it made it appear like a warm summer night in the middle of nowhere. The water was illuminated by green-colored lamps. There were crocodile-themed water park attractions, like slides and small platforms shaped like alligator bags, made of a soft rubber you could jump on for fun. Your eyes widened. It was like you were a kid again. Slowly you stepped over a bridge that had been built over the lazy river that went around the entire installation and walked forward towards the main pool. Kneeling down, you tested the water with a finger. It was cold. Not as cold as the shower. The lamps were probably giving it a little bit of warmth. Yet you smiled and dived in. The shock of the cold, not as terrible as you expected. Weightless and with grace, you glided through the water. This feeling was the reason you had wanted to finish Monty's upgrade so fast. Wait. Monty. Where was the robot? You had completely forgotten about him. You stopped swimming and looked around, only just remembering that he had been outside of parts and services. Quickly you swam towards the nearby ladder to get out, but just then you heard a door open. As you climbed out, Monty left through a tunnel that led directly to his Rockstar Row bedroom.
Night guard, are you?
He stopped mid-sentence as he watched you slowly get up from the pool's water. Water cascaded down your wet curves, and the gator's jaw dropped. Seeing the robot's reaction, you blushed and put both arms before your chest. What? You squeaked. Why were you so embarrassed? He was a robot. Nothing to fear. Monty searched his archives for a proper reply.
No response found,
he said. You tilted your head. Response not found? He shrugged.
I'm not programmed to respond to wet, attractive females in swimsuits.
You took a step back and blushed deeply. Attractive? Did the machine just compliment you? And did you like it? Why was your heart beating faster?
I am detecting a strange hormonal response.
You blushed harder, wishing you had stayed in the water. But instead of going back to the ladder, your feet guided you towards the lizard animatronic. You stopped right in front of him, lips quivering with anxiety. Once you were right before him, you looked up into his face. Do you mean it? Am I pretty? You asked. He tilted his head.
Yes, you are.
You haven't been complimented since high school. Quick, you leaned forward, slapping your wet body against his chest plate. The gator was confused with the sudden show of affection, but at least this was something he had been programmed to respond to. Gently, he placed one of his heavy claws on your shoulder, while the other wrapped around your hip.
Heating module not connected,
he said, and you sighed. The heating module was used to artificially overheat the animatronics so that the shell could give off warmth, hence why some of the older models of the Glamrock variants had small vents on their backs. Needed to remove it, you admitted. You have no real exhaust outside of breathing in and out, so the heating module needed to be removed to stop you from, well, overheating yourself. Monty sighed.
I see.
After a minute, you leaned further up and took hold of his face. Please, say it one more time, you said, looking straight into his eyes.
I am not programmed to respond to wet, attractive females in swimsuits.
You blinked, then sighed. Close enough, I guess, you said. Then you pulled his head towards you, gently planting a kiss onto his lower jaw. If Monty could blush, he would. But you weren't done just yet. Monty, if it's okay, can I try something? He blinked, unable to form a proper response. I want you to stick your tongue out. Monty and Roxy were unique. They had silicone-covered wires in their mouths to simulate tongues. These were used to make edgy poses while on stage or to make silly faces for photo operations. As you pressed your own head back into him, he latched out his silicone appendage. Not caring about how unsanitary this might be, you licked with your own tongue against his. And he actually shook. You pulled back. You are programmed to react to this?
I am programmed to react with discomfort of a customer's attempting advances like this. However, I do not wish to activate the response, so I'm unsure of what to do.
You sighed, with a slight smile. Okay then. After a minute of him just quietly holding you, you separated. Let's do what we actually came here for. With a heavy blush, you stepped towards the pool's edge and jumped in. You still couldn't believe you just made out with an animatronic. For a moment, you were completely submerged. Seconds later, you broke the surface and swam back towards him. Monty was eyeing the ladder a few feet away from you.
I don't think we should try jumping in just yet,
he said. And then he walked towards the ladder while you followed him from inside the water. One step. His tail's tip was already touching the cold liquid. 2 steps. 3 steps. And then he let go. You chuckled. Well, you are too heavy for the water after all. But the animatronic's head and shoulders were still above the water. He was genuinely too tall. Doesn't seem like you need swimming lessons after all. The main pool was the deepest one. Out of all the pools in Gator Swamp, the main one was the deepest. Honestly, you were a little disappointed. You moved closer to the gator, who caught your swimming form with a smile.